Hello and welcome to Building Solid Foundations. I'm your host, Steve Matley. We are on KCAA 1050 AM all over Southern California. If you miss us on the radio, don't forget to check us out on the rebroadcast. We are on Roku. We are on Amazon Fire. We are on the Android app. Look for the Building Solid Foundations channel. That's a free channel you can download. We're also probably on your favorite podcast platform. We're on a couple dozen of them. Today, we are going to talk real estate. I know we talk a lot of real estate on this show, but that's my background. It's what I know, and that's the people I hang with. So let's talk a little bit about real estate. Today, my guest is David Schmidt. David Schmidt is of the Schmidt Group. He is president since 1984. He's a consistent top producer for Grubb & Ellis, the largest commercial real estate brokerage firm in Texas previously, and he's also been included in Business Journal's listing of who's who in real estate. San Diego Daily Transcript ranks the Schmidt Group as the number 15th largest real estate firm in San Diego. He's got a lot more accolades and awards, but let's get in and meet David right now and just get right into talking to what's he done, where's he come from, and what's he doing. David, welcome to Building Solid Foundations.
Thank you, Stephen.
Great to have you here. Now, David and I actually have met previously. We have a mutual connection, and actually the producer of the show. And we actually met because, as you know, I work with a college, and we were actually looking at potential facilities for them too. And David's been helping represent for us, so appreciate that. David, let's talk first about how you got started in commercial real estate. You say starting in 84, that goes back a ways. So you started in this a while back.
I started in 1984. It was really interesting. I had previously been in the apparel industry and decided to make a major career change at 40 years old.
Okay.
So real estate seemed to be the direction everybody, including my wife, was pointing me into. So I went to work for a company called Henry S. Miller.
Okay.
Within 30 days of being with them, and they were the largest commercial and residential real estate company in Texas. They were doing, in 1984, about $1 billion in revenues in residential and $1 billion in commercial. So they were huge. 30 days into being there, we got bought by Grubb & Ellis, who was on a big campaign at that time to purchase companies and just build their business. So it was an interesting start for me.
And Grubb & Ellis is obviously one of the biggest of the commercial firms in the country.
They were at that time. They were the largest at that time. I think since then, some of their purchases did not work out as well as they had anticipated.
Okay.
But it was a great experience and a good foundation for me to, jumpstart my career.
And that was in Texas?
In Dallas, yeah.
Dallas, okay. And of course, Dallas in the 80s was experience a phenomenal boom.
Dallas overbuilt Class A office space by 3 times.
Right.
And that's how actually the tenant rep industry started, because the traditional brokers, the C.B. Richard Ellis's, the, Colliers, some of the other companies that we know here in California, did leasing for landlords. And it was just too much. They needed people to bring them deals. And that's kind of how I got into tenant representation. I sort of gravitated to that. It was a relatively new industry because it just didn't exist before the bulk of inventory. Traditionally, people would and still today, believe it or not, people would drive around, look at signs, call off the signs, and nobody ever calls them back, so it becomes very frustrating.
Right. So if you start in 84, I'm trying to think of very shortly into your career, a couple things happened. One, if you were in Dallas, the oil industry busted in the late 80s. It just tanked. And then that hurt Houston a lot. And Dallas is very much an oil town.
Yeah.
Fort Worth is more the cattle town, but Dallas was the oil town.
Correct.
And then the other thing was the Tax Reform Act of 1986 had a pretty big impact on commercial real estate as well.
We were at a time in the late 80s in Dallas where real estate, banking, and oil, 3 mainstays of Texas, were all in the crapper.
Yeah.
At the same time.
Yeah, and again, those things. Again, the oil industry had its fall, and California
Yep.
felt that too. California used to be a major oil producer. Now, not so much. My brother had actually worked with an oil company in the late '80s, and then all that kind of went away. And then again, that Tax Reform Act of '86, I know, just devastated a lot nationwide.
It
Devastated. I think it led to with the RTC. Is that what it was that
Right.
was taking
The
everything
RTC
over?
came
And the
in.
savings and loans
Yeah.
that failed in the late '80s, and all that was kind of tied together. So you got into the real estate just in time to experience all that.
It was in my career. I think I've experienced almost everything.
That's a baptism by
You know,
fire. Is
exactly,
what that is.
exactly.
And
It was amazing because I remember just before the RTC took over most of the lenders, I had just done a deal with a bank. They were not approved by the banking commission to do the deal, but the president come and told me, I want to do this deal, just do it. So we did a deal, and within 2 months of closing the transaction, it was a lease, they were taken over by the RTC.
yeah, and that you see the entire S&L business went
Yeah.
away, just disappeared. In a
Well,
period of
that's
few
what
years.
caused the whole rebuilding of the office market with Class A property in Texas. Was the S&Ls had so much, they had to get money out.
Yeah.
The money was coming in the back door faster than they could get it out the front door. And anybody had an idea to build a building, whether there was 10 being built on the same block, they didn't care, and it was a disaster.
Yeah, well, I know Houston had a basically unoccupied skyline for the better part of 10
Right.
years after that.
Right.
They overbuilt a lot too, very large buildings. And it wasn't just those cities; it was all over the country. They had big
Yes.
issues. Yeah, I know Orlando took a huge hit at that
Right.
point in time. Yeah. Okay, so this led to you becoming a tenant rep, and you kind of referenced that already. That you, instead of just representing the leasing side, you're representing the tenants. So how does that work? Because is there a commission on both sides of that?
There is commissions, yes. To answer the question, yes. There's commissions pro forma into every deal, whether it's a sale or a lease. Most tenants and buyers typically don't even understand that.
Right.
So the reason to have somebody represent you is to kind of help ferret through and understand the market. Instead of just trying to go do it yourself. We have found that, over the years that companies have come to rely on our expertise, whether it's to lease or purchase, because it just really kind of makes the whole process easier,
Right.
and simpler. Today, we're seeing that it's difficult to find properties.
Very,
So
very low inventory.
there's
all
very
around,
low
yes.
inventory. And owners of commercial property are very concerned with tenants' use and tenants' credit.
That's right.
So startup businesses are going to have a very difficult time trying to get established anywhere. We have relationships, 25-year relationships, with most of the commercial brokers here in San Diego. So they know that when we bring them a deal, for the most part, it's going to be a solid deal.
Right. So we read the news headlines and we hear that a lot of commercial space is empty and nobody's moving in. And so that would make people think, oh, in that case, it must be easier to just walk in and rent out any of this empty space. And that's not the case. It's a little bit counterintuitive because
It
the
is.
commercial owners are still very picky.
Correct. And talking about Class A and Class B product, yes. When you get into, sub B space, C buildings, they're kind of still taking anybody. But it's not easy because we haven't built anything substantial in 10 years.
Because everybody said the commercial was dead. So nobody's
Right.
building it. That's right.
The only thing that's being built is, um, biotech.
Right.
That has been a growing industry.
Yeah.
So what that has caused is investors to flood into San Diego, and I'm sure other cities in California, buy office buildings, B and C office buildings, and get rid of the tenants one way or another, either buy out their leases or, if they're month to month, just be done with it, like what we experienced yesterday, and retrofit it for the biotech industry, where they can get 2-3 times the rental rates that they were getting just operating as a class B minus or C plus building.
Right.
So that has had an effect on the market as well, because all these displaced tenants had to find new locations. So whatever limited amount of space was out there is now being full. For example, in Sorrento Valley, over 2 million square feet of tenants have been forced out into other, so they filled up whatever was out there. So now the markets are very tight.
Right.
And like I said before, use is an issue. And we have a thing called LoopNet. I don't know if you're familiar with it.
LoopNet is,
okay. Well, LoopNet is owned by CoStar, and CoStar is actually the paid-for version of availabilities.
Okay, we're gonna take a short break for commercial. Okay. Let's pick up on LoopNet right when we come back from the break. I'm talking with David Schmidt of the Schmidt Group. We're talking commercial real estate on building solid foundations. We'll be right back after this.
Tired of qualifying your leads and not getting the right clients for you? Join the finest women in real estate and learn how to attract the best clients and increase your referral network. Call now at 951-378-5316. 951-378-5316 and become one of the finest women in real estate.
This is Steve Matley. Join me every Thursday at 3 p.m. right here on KCAA for Building Solid Foundations radio talk show. I spent decades as a professional construction manager, business owner, real estate developer, and a college educator, and I enjoy learning new things from other people. We talk a lot about real estate, business, and finance, but we cover a diverse range of other topics as well. Some of the topics we've discussed in the past few months include real estate investing, leadership, higher education, ADUs, marketing using technology, multifamily rental properties, business strategy, entrepreneurship. You never know who may show up or what they may talk about, so join us right here on KCAA for Building Solid Foundations Radio.
Hey guys, it's Damon, Mr. Foxy, Damon Hart, and I'm here with the real men of real estate. And I just want to say, hey, come and watch us this Sunday, 1 p.m. live, every Sunday. Okay, we're going to be on KCAA Radio, 1050 AM, 106.5 FM. If you got a minute, just tune in. We can't wait to have you here. I'm going to be there. If you can't make it on there, we're going to be at Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, or Android app on Building Solid Foundations channel. So tune in. You know what you got to do in the meantime. Keep it foxy.
Fire Up Connect is the most innovative business networking group, supporting and collaborating with a dozen of small businesses that are interested in building and establishing strong business connections, hosting educational live seminars while carrying out business and community-driven projects, as well as marketing programs as a part of its membership program. Fire Up Connect also offers virtual assistance with a wide range of services including inbound customer support, chat support, appointment setting and email management, graphic designing, video editing, web design and development, social media marketing, e-commerce solution, content writing and much more. For more information, head on over to www.fireupconnect.com. Fire Up Connect, helping success stories unfold every day.
Welcome back to Building Solid Foundations. I'm your host, Steve Matley. I'm talking to David Schmidt. He's a commercial real estate with the Schmidt Group, and he's working out of San Diego County, although he could represent you all pretty much anywhere in California, possibly has connections all over the country, I'm assuming. All over the country, yes. So before the break, we were getting into talking about LoopNet, which is, I guess, kind of like a MLS of commercial world sort of thing.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah, it's free to anybody who wants to get it, and typically things that are free are pretty much worth what you get.
That's right.
And it's obsolete information. It's not current, and it kind of skews things for the tenants because they see all the stuff that's out there that has already maybe been leased 4 or 5 months ago, but has not been updated.
And I think there's also things on LoopNet where you have owners that are doing a little bit of fishing. They're not really sure they want to sell or anything at this point.
That's true.
But they're testing the water to see
Exactly.
if there's any demand. Right.
So I go to CoStar, which is a paid service. They do a much better job than anybody else in the industry, and it gives us a really good idea of what's going on locally, regionally, as well as globally. So, and we can find anything for anybody if it exists anywhere in the United States.
So now, you mentioned the people buying buildings and converting them, and what I've seen. So, I've worked in construction management world for decades. 20 plus years ago, I was doing projects down here, downtown and all over the county. And there were still some commercial buildings that were going up. And all the downtown San Diego and most cities, the downtown skyline was dominated by commercial buildings, office buildings. In the last, I want to say 15 plus years, all the taller buildings going in are residential. Downtown San Diego, there was one building. It wasn't one of the larger ones. It was the local utility, gas and electric that went in. And, everything else was residential going in. The huge shopping mall downtown is converted into a technology hub now.
Right.
Over on the waterfront, they've got the 8 square blocks of downtown, the former Navy project, Navy land, that is a tech hub now being built in with building after building after building, a lot of new square footage. You mentioned Sereno Valley and those areas. All those buildings are going tech and biotech, and it's not just biotech anymore here. It's just tech also.
It's tech.
It's coming in, yeah, and so you're seeing conversions also of former office buildings being converted to residences as well. Because the residential seems in demand. So we're seeing a strange thing with commercial buildings that are either going to tech where they're worth a lot more, or they're going to residential where they're no longer commercial anymore, which loses commercial space. And I'm seeing a lot of that change in usage is what's going on. And almost all the new construction I see, as you mentioned, there's biotech going in, but almost all the new construction tends to be more of the urban residential.
Correct. Yeah, because we need it all, but residential has certainly taken the forefront without question. And some of the older buildings, I think, over the next couple of years will be repurposed for residential. It kind of makes sense. I think we're going to have an overabundance of biotech space in the market.
But there's a lot of investment coming in, though. I look at that, but I also look at how much these companies are investing in the area. And I'm looking here in San Diego, you have UCSD, which is a very medical and technology-driven institution, and they've been on a just aggressive expansion, like crazy.
The cranes
actually, both the state universities out here have been.
Yes.
And San Diego State is not on the medical side, but they're doing a lot of engineering and technology as well. And they're building their second campus down in Mission Valley.
Right.
And so we're seeing a lot of that, and then that drives a lot of the construction of the biotech and tech sector because they want to be near the research institutions and where the new employees are coming from.
And that's why I think the new trolley that we have is, was all designed for that purpose. So
Exactly.
you can get from downtown to the colleges very, very easily.
Right.
Very easily now.
Yeah. So we're seeing that shift, and you know, shifts happen. I always have in the history of you know, the world.
Right.
Thing, you know, this use to that use, but we're seeing a huge major shift. I don't know that a lot of people are seeing how huge it is. How much of a change that is. It's a complete 180, honestly. See, I'm old enough to remember when people lived in the North County and commuted to downtown to go to work. And now I'm watching people that live in downtown that commuting up into the North City to go to work. It's a backwards
It's
commute.
like flip-flopped.
It flip-flopped,
Yep.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. They used to have that HOV lane down the 15 that went one direction and went downtown in the morning and came
and
up. And now
brilliant,
it doesn't work
brilliant.
anymore.
No,
They have to tear the whole
doesn't.
thing up and rebuild it because
Right.
that doesn't work anymore.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, so let's get into a couple other interesting things going back through your background. You worked with Roger Staubach. He was the former quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys, I want to say in the 70s and early 80s.
Yep.
Is that right?
Yep.
And that you and him are kind of who pioneered this tenant rep industry. So how did Roger get involved in all that?
Roger, when he retired from the Cowboys, he was always in real estate. It was like a second hobby of his, but he never did anything with it. It was like, you know, he held a license with Henry S. Miller. So I got to know Roger on a business level as well as personal. And he's just a magnificent human being. Very generous. My wife was involved with Children's Cancer Fund. He was always the head moderator, got the Cowboys to come in, autograph footballs, and it was really exciting. So when he left the Cowboys, his name was golden in the state.
Right.
He formed his own company. So we were kind of competitors, but still in our own rights, building the foundation for this tenant rep industry. Because he when he went into it as a Starbucks company, it was totally tenant representation. Where still a lot of the other companies, you know, flip-flop back and forth between landlord or seller representation and buyer and tenant representation. And that creates problems. You know, I think you not that you have to be a purist in everything you do, but there's kind of conflicts of interest.
It's a little like being a prosecuting attorney and a defense attorney all in one. It'd be difficult to do both, right?
That's right. That's exactly what it is. And maybe for the viewers to put in even more intimate perspective, it's like when a couple gets divorced and the husband says, I think we should use my attorney. He'll treat everyone fairly, and it'll save us some money. Doesn't happen.
Not unless it's perfectly amicable.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And so you and Roger kind of pioneered that industry, and now you've got your strictly tenant rep side of the equation.
Strictly tenant rep. We have no signs. In my career, I have owned commercial property, primarily office buildings. So I understand the landlord mentality as well as the tenant mentality. And it's a very unusual combination to find in any real estate gamut. So that kind of knowing where they're coming from, knowing what my client wants, makes it so much easier to, you know, get a deal consummated.
Well, tenants tend to be just business people that are working in a gajillion different lines of business,
Right,
doing
right.
insurance and architecture and whatever they're doing. Yeah, and then you've got the building owners. They are they're real estate investment groups. They're REITs. Those kind of companies. And they're finance groups is what they are, that where real estate is their commodity.
Business.
Yeah,
Very
they're a big
big
business.
business.
But those are two different mentalities. You know,
Right.
it's high finance on one side where real estate is the commodity where we're using to make money, and the other side is a bunch of small businesses that just need a place to put the desk and hang the hat.
And that's very prevalent here in San Diego.
Right.
But it's interesting how many times I talk to tenants. I say, I got a great landlord. I said, really? I said, what kind of makes it so, how is the relationship so great? He says, well, I always pay my rent on the first of the month. I said, that's a great relationship. That's, that's what they want.
That's right. Yeah.
So, but it's interesting to see that kind of dynamic play out.
Right. Right. So, you're outside of San Diego. So, what other areas can you represent people in?
I have done deals all over. We've done deals in Arizona as well as most cities in California, Texas, Georgia, South Carolina, New Jersey. We just completed a large transaction out in New Jersey for a client that we actually represented here and in Irvine.
Okay.
So we have that capability, and technology now has helped change that where you can actually do that.
Right. Okay. So if you need help outside of the Southern California area, the Schmidt Group can help you with that as well. So we're talking to David Schmidt. He is with the Schmidt Group, and they do commercial real estate and specializing in tenant representation. This is Building Solid Foundations. I'm your host, Steve Matley. We're going to take another short break, and when we come back, we'll continue our conversation with David. Don't go anywhere.
Looking to attract your target market without soliciting or doing the cold calling? Call Marie Waite and book your consultation. Branding gives you the power to create a unique and classy perception of your business for your target audience. A marketing plan without the right branding will always cost more, take longer, and tend to deliver subpar results compared to a well-branded business. Marie Waite is a branding strategist who formulates effective marketing and media programs to promote your business in building your name, brand, and legacy. Marie has over 10 years of experience and a proven record of creating strong brand content for business owners, entrepreneurs, and companies using her creative ideas, recommendations, and innovative programs. Book now at mariewaite.com or call her at 951-378-5316, 951-378-5316.
This is Steve Matley. Join me every Thursday at 3 p.m. right here on KCAA for Building Solid Foundations radio talk show. I spent decades as a professional construction manager, business owner, real estate developer, and a college educator, and I enjoy learning new things from other people. We talk a lot about real estate, business, and finance, but we cover a diverse range of other topics as well. Some of the topics we've discussed in the past few months include real estate investing, leadership, higher education, ADUs, marketing using technology, multifamily rental properties, business strategy, entrepreneurship. You never know who may show up or what they may talk about, so join us right here on KCAA for Building Solid Foundations Radio.
Fire Up Connect is the most innovative business networking group, supporting and collaborating with a dozen of small businesses that are interested in building and establishing strong business connections. Hosting educational live seminars while carrying out business and community-driven projects, as well as marketing programs as a part of its membership program. Fire Up Connect also offers virtual assistance with a wide range of services including inbound customer support, chat support, appointment setting and email management, graphic designing, video editing, web design and development, social media marketing, e-commerce solution, content writing and much more. For more information, head on over to www.fireupconnect.com. Fire Up Connect, helping success stories unfold every day.
Hello, everyone. I am Lynette LaRoche here at Fabulous Lifestyles Foundations Radio Show. So excited to have you here with us. We have so much to offer you, and we have amazing guests that we bring on every Sunday. So we want to make sure that you tune in on KCAA Broadcasting Network, because remember, this is all about having a fabulous lifestyle, and it can be yours to be had. So tune in every Sunday to Fabulous Lifestyle Foundation Radio. And we also have other radio shows that would be of interest to you as well in fashion, fun, and finance. I am Lynette LaRoche, and remember, you need to build a house before you can bring in the furniture.
Welcome back to Building Solid Foundations. This is Steve Matley. We're talking today with David Schmidt of the Schmidt Group, the commercial real estate specializing in tenant representation in Southern California, but also pretty much anywhere across the country that you may want to go. David, what are some companies that you've represented in your career?
We were fortunate to work with companies like PepsiCo, On the Border,
Okay.
Maxim Healthcare, which is a very prolific outsourcing company of nurses all throughout the United States. Company my son owned one time, Peak Health Solutions.
Okay.
So we those are the names that people would know.
Okay. Okay. But you'll work with pretty much anybody that has a need, right?
Yeah, we now have to spend some time evaluating the tenants' needs, trying to understand what they want to accomplish, and if we're the right source to help them accomplish it.
So have this push in the pandemic, obviously that affected a lot of things, but the push towards remote workers was happening before that. And then we're seeing that kind of exacerbated things. Does that affect the commercial real estate market, or is that something that kind of it was, but now it's coming back to where we were before?
You know, I think that had one of the single biggest effects on commercial office that I have seen, in my career, 40-year career. The vacating, mostly in cities like New York, Chicago, San Francisco, LA to a certain extent, those are the cities that got hurt by the COVID migration out of office, going into the home. Then that created a whole new thing of saying, hey, this isn't bad. This actually works well. The business owners saying, God, I'm saving a lot of money on rent. The work bee is saying, hey, I don't have to commute. It was just just all came together perfectly. It was a perfect storm. And it's going to take a long time for some of these projects to come back to life again.
So I hear that a lot of these companies are calling people back to work, but at the same time, I think that may be a fairly small percentage of the total number of people that left the offices.
I think it's what I've read about it and seen it. I think it's about 35%, maybe 40, but it's still not the bulk of it yet. And those companies that have vacated their office spaces, the guy who sells coffee in the building or sandwiches, or the shoe shine guy, the guy who sells papers, all the local business has suffered greatly because
all the
of
restaurants
this
that people go to lunch, and the parking attendants, and
everything.
Yeah, because of the parking concessions. All of a sudden, nobody needs to park their car all day.
Exactly. So I think, San Diego has been slightly isolated from that whole
I think because
picture.
San Diego's not a city with much in the way of a Fortune 500 corporations being headquartered here.
But neither was Dallas. When I got to Dallas in 1978 from New York, it was a marginal regional city.
Right.
And by that I mean, if a company says, hey, we're going to put a regional office in, should we go to Houston or Dallas? It'd go to Houston.
Well, Houston had a lot of the oil company headquarters.
And it had the oil companies.
A lot of international business there, yeah.
So you had that corporate base. And I have never seen a city move completely to the other direction as fast as they did in Dallas in the late 70s and early 80s. And they had some pretty smart people there. Trammell Crow, I forget the guy who built Allianz Airport, which was just an airport for transportation. And you can imagine a city that now can offer so much to their corporate relocations. And they had a tremendous amount of corporate relocations.
Right. Yeah, but as you said here, biotech kind of has always been the king here. Well,
Right.
obviously the military always was.
Yeah.
And then there's a lot of the tourists trade. But the biotech and now the tech is kind of where the city's gone as the main employer.
Definitely.
Actually, the number one employer is education.
Yeah.
The single biggest employer in the county of San Diego is the UC.
Right.
So there's the higher education is a big piece of the puzzle here too. But they build, but that's all state buildings.
Well, it's all, if you look at it, it's, you know, the university, people come out of the university, they start companies, Qualcomm.
That's right.
They stay here, they nurture it, they build it, they grow it. But we've been here for a little over 25 years. When I got here, Qualcomm was the largest company. Right. And I think today they're pretty much still one of the largest companies, maybe not the largest.
Yeah, and again, most companies like that are not, they'd be headquartered in a larger, they'd be headquartered in a New York or Chicago or Los Angeles, someplace like that normally.
In that same time that I have left Dallas, companies like, I was just on the tip of my tongue, Texas Instruments was one of the largest companies in Texas in the 70s. Texas Instruments is still a large company, but it's not the largest, not even close to the largest.
Right. So
that's the difference. I mean, we've got one large one here, or two, or three large companies here. So, yeah, I mean.
But I think that's why the remote work, a lot of tech already was doing a lot of that. And so I think that's why San Diego did not get hit as hard as many other cities. They didn't have the mass exodus. The other strange thing is, San Diego is not an inexpensive place to live. However, when you compare it to Los Angeles and the Bay Area and Orange County, it's a bargain. It looks, for coastal Pacific Ocean real estate in a temperate climate in a beautiful city that's relatively safe, it's extremely inexpensive compared to the rest of the state.
It is.
And so people that left LA and San Francisco, a lot of them came to San Diego. If you come from those areas, San Diego seems like a smaller town to you.
It is. Well, it is.
Yeah, it's the second biggest city in the state, but it's not the second biggest metropolitan area.
No, and the reverse has happened with people that have retired with lots of money. They moved to Texas.
That's right.
You know,
well, if you bought a house, so if you bought a house anywhere in Southern California 30 years ago, and you bought that house for $250,000, and now you're selling it for $1.3 million, you can go to Texas and you can retire pretty nicely.
Exactly. Exactly.
Or you go to Arizona or someplace like that.
Now, the trouble with Texas is if you would have bought that same house in Texas 30 years ago, it may be worth 10%, 20% more.
Yeah, but it's all relative, right? So if you come out and I got this big chunk of cash and I've taken my one-time tax forgiveness thing, right? It's like you can do that.
And out there.
And now I bought myself my big house in Texas and my 55-foot coach and my my boat and whatever I need. And
you live in a good life.
Yeah, I'm swatting mosquitoes all day and it's really muggy and humid. It's not San Diego where it's 72 degrees and sunny and
your
no
air
bugs.
conditioning is going 24/7.
Yeah, utility. Utility is pretty high out there. Right. I was in Texas looking at a large piece of land, about 450 acres, last I want to say June or so, and I was. Hot. Yeah, it was, oh my gosh, oppressive heat. Humid. And this was east of Dallas, Quinlan area, east of Dallas, along a lake there. And the people I was talking to, they understand. They said, why are you doing Texas? Well, because California is difficult to work in. We got the hassles. It takes forever, red tape, all the stuff. And they said, well, why would you stay there? Yeah. And I looked at it and said, well, let's see how the weather in San Diego is today. Oh, look, it's 71 degrees, clear blue sky, slight breeze out of the west, It's just gorgeous there.
Right.
There's no mosquitoes.
Yeah.
We don't have those
roaches,
issues. Yeah, no, we don't have those problems.
Yeah.
So that's why, I'll put up, I joke with people. I tell people my relationship with California is like being in a relationship with a high maintenance, spoiled, rotten, completely abusive woman who is just so beautiful you could not get yourself to leave. And so you'll put up with a lot. And, and everywhere I go, I love going other places and visiting. I don't want to put Texas down. I like going there and visiting. I like a lot of places. I was just in Iowa last month, Cedar Rapids. You mentioned PepsiCo. PepsiCo is all over the place there because of Quaker Oats, right?
Yeah.
They make cereal there. And I like visiting, although there was tornadoes back there when I was there. But I always like coming back home again.
Yeah.
I get on the plane and I'm never sad that vacation's over or whatever because I'm going back to San Diego, you know.
And what's nice about coming home is you're home, you know, and you say it's just...
You step off the plane, it's just another beautiful day.
Right.
You know,
Why did
even
I
in a
leave
year,
in the first place?
Even in a year like this, where it's been the heaviest rain and the hardest winter we've had in a long time, and thinking this was nothing. What we're complaining about would be an extremely mild winter anywhere else.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're weather wimps here. No two ways about it. But that's why we're here, and that's where I look at. Okay, so we've done pretty well, and a lot of people that left those big metropolitan areas came here. This is where they came. They didn't go out to the country. They didn't go out of state. They came to a place like San Diego where it seemed like a bargain real estate because they could get something for half of what it cost up. You know, Bay Area is very expensive and difficult to get around in. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to wrap up a conversation with David Schmidt of the Schmidt Group. If you want to contact David, by the way, if you have any questions at all about commercial real estate, he's at 619-218-5907, 619-218-5907, or you can catch him at schmidthappens.com, SCHMIDT happens.com, schmidthappens.com. That is his website. And look for the Schmidt Group. And his office is out of La Jolla, which is in San Diego, California. But he can help you anywhere. If you got questions about real estate, you just want to pick his brain and ask him a few questions, especially if you're on the tenant side of the equation. I'm Steve Matley. This is Building Solid Foundations, and we'll be right back after this short break.
FireUp Connect is the most innovative business networking group, supporting and collaborating with a dozen of small businesses that are interested in building and establishing strong business connections, hosting educational live seminars while carrying out business and community-driven projects, as well as marketing programs as a part of its membership program. FireUp Connect also offers virtual assistance with a wide range of services including inbound customer support, chat support, appointment setting and email management, graphic designing, video editing, web design and development, social media marketing, e-commerce solution, content writing and much more. For more information, head on over to www.fireupconnect.com. FireUp Connect, helping success stories unfold every day.
Tired of qualifying your leads and not getting the right clients for you? Join the finest women in real estate and learn how to attract the best clients and increase your referral network. Call now at 951-378-5316. 951-378-5316 and become one of the finest women in real estate.
Real Men of Real Estate.
Men of Real Estate radio show here on KCAA.
Most mortgages can be purchased.
All of us want to live in thriving communities.
Basically go to the radio station KCAA radio.com.
You're listening to Fabulous Lifestyle Radio. I'm your host, Ricky Perry, and we are affiliated with CNBC, NBC News, and Sports, where we broadcast to over 5 million households in the greater Los Angeles area. If you missed our previous shows, you can watch us on our streaming networks on Roku TV, Amazon Fire Stick, and the Android app.
Looking to attract your target market without soliciting or doing the cold calling? Call Marie Waite and book your consultation. Branding gives you the power to create a unique and classy perception of your business for your target audience. A marketing plan without the right branding will always cost more, take longer, and tend to deliver subpar results compared to a well-branded business. Marie Waite is a branding strategist who formulates effective marketing and media programs to promote your business in building your name, brand, and legacy. Marie has over 10 years of experience and a proven record of creating strong brand content for business owners, entrepreneurs, and companies using her creative ideas, recommendations, and innovative programs. Book now at mariewaite.com or call her at 951-378-5316, 951-378-5316. . 5316.
Welcome back to Building Solid Foundations. I'm your host, Steve Matley. Today we are talking to David Schmidt of the Schmidt Group. If you want to contact David, go to schmidthappens.com, SCHMIDT happens.com, or you can call him at 619-218-5907. We've been talking about commercial real estate and specifically tenant representation. I want to cut a few more questions for David. And one is because tenant representation isn't usually what we think about in real estate. We're usually thinking about the seller, right? You list a property, and then anybody that wants to lease it just finds the sign and calls, as you said, right? How do tenants know that your service exists?
Well, I have been fortunate, Steve, in my career here is through referrals.
Okay.
We don't advertise. Everything is referral based, and I have built a client base that there is repeat business. I mean, when we start with a client, we tell them we're there for as long as they're going to be there, or as long as I'm going to be here. They may be there a lot longer than I am, but renewals, expansions, contractions, whatever happens to their business, we tell them, you talk to me, call me first, let me help you through that next stage. So it's not just like a landlord broker he does his deal, he leases you space, and then that's it. There's no contact. We will stay in contact with our clients, and we tell them, if there's ever anything that they get, email, text, voicemail, to talk to me before they react to it.
Okay. Because
they may not react in a good way. So I think the word of mouth has been, it's been a blessing for me. I've been very active with University Club downtown. Started their speaker series in 2001. It lasted through to COVID. So it had a good 20-year run, which is, I think, good. It afforded me the opportunity to meet who's who in San Diego. Right. Literally, we did mayoral debates down to Irwin Jacobs was our first speaker. Okay. So he set the trend and started off right.
That's good.
So we get a lot of referrals. I must say that I just like helping people and making sure they get on the right track. And if I can't help them, at least I can point them in the right direction, that they don't just flounder around trying to find a solution to their problem.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people go in because they're busy working their business. They're not real estate people. They just want to work their business, but they need a place to do it. Exactly. And they kind of assume, okay, so I just have to go in and they own the building, so they're going to kind of tell me what's going to work and what's not, and I've got to just
and they believe that.
Available. Right.
They believe that. They believe there's no negotiation, and the brokers for buildings, commercial buildings, are actually trained to tell them, look, the last deal I did was X, and I can't go lower than X. That's what it is. And we get engaged, and we come in, and it may be 10, 15% lower than X.
And it's not just the lease cost. There's other terms as far as tenant improvements, so there are allowances, utilities. There's all kinds of other things that you can get into.
Right.
That
renewal
are
options.
Yeah, exactly.
Fixed renewal options. That's like, it doesn't exist today because landlords don't want that commitment. Right. It's a commitment that they have to agree to the tenant. So it's not a benefit to the landlord to have we negotiate on almost, I think, 43 different items.
Okay, good.
Of which rent is one of them.
Right. Well, that's why in the projects that I do with my company, it's very different because we're doing land and entitlement and development. But I always tell people when we're looking at acquisition of those things, price is not the primary driver. It's a reasonable price. It may not be the best price. If it's a reasonable price, the terms is where the deal is.
Exactly.
I need to talk about the terms.
Right.
And the terms have a lot. There's a lot of layers to it. And again, probably 40 some odd items that you're going through.
Yes.
And the price just has to be something that will pencil out at some point. That's all.
Right.
I'll pay a little more than something's worth if I can get the terms I need, because that can make the deal work or not work. And so that's where if you have someone that's savvy enough to know that.
Yeah, in the lease, we try to, on the lease side of it, as opposed to purchase, we try to get the benefit for our clients. And we tell our clients that you have to understand there's a reason landlords don't negotiate directly with tenants. They have brokers.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
They have a hired gun. What do you have?
Right.
You know, you're just there. You are, like you said before, you're an accountant, or you're, in the medical field, or you're in the insurance industry, and you know that. You know that industry's solid. But when it comes to real estate, you really don't understand.
Well, and there's a negotiating technique. I do a presentation where I talk kind of like unfair negotiating tactics that are used, and a lot of people think of car lots and those things, but it works in real estate too. Where one of the tactics that's used is, I have my representative talking for me, but you're talking for you. So you have to be the decision maker if you're going to sit at the table and talk.
Right.
But I have my representative, and he'll have to go check with me, because then you're going to go through that, and this person can always say, I need to go check on that. I need to go check on this. And this person has to commit.
Right.
And so you need to even that playing field.
It goes a little bit beyond that, too. It allows you to continue doing your business, which you are there to do.
Yeah.
And not divert your attention into things that you don't really understand.
That's right.
So it serves a dual purpose by having that person there.
Right. Okay, so, on the tenant side, if you're out there looking for space or thinking about it at some point, you want to contact someone like David at the Schmidt Group, and they can talk to you about how to make sure that you are going to find what you need. It's going to be the right place. They have ways of looking to see what the options are out there that you may not be able to access by Googling it. And they can talk through all those different terms and conditions and other options that you may not even be aware of, to make sure you don't step into something or sign something that locks you in later to something you don't want. So again, the Schmidt Group, you want to go to 619-218-5907 or schmidthappens.com. And again, even if you just want to pick David's brain and ask him some questions, he's an expert and he can help you out. He's got decades of experience. So thank you, David, for being on the show today. I really appreciate it. I learned a lot myself. If you miss our show, when we're here on KCAA every Thursday, but if you miss our show, go catch us on Roku, Amazon Fire, or the Android on the Building Solid Foundations channel. That's a free channel to download. We also show up on YouTube. We're probably on your favorite podcast platform. We're on a couple of dozen of them, and we're on the archives at kcaaradio.com, kcaaradio.com. I'm Steve Matley with Building Solid Foundations, and we come to you every week. Always something interesting. I always learn something. Hopefully you do too. And until next week, go do something different this week.